Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Kevin with Yerkit Racing. Today we're back in the shop on the oil pump for the LT1. We're going to put a high pressure spring in it. We're going to go through and remove any kind of casting, flash, or bad spots in that. We're going to go through and soften all the edges on the castings for the pump and also the edges of the gears inside of it. And then we're going to measure the depth of the gears, make sure they're within tolerance. Should be like 1 to 3 thousandths on that. And once we know everything is good and we're happy with it, we're going to put that back together, throw it back in the motor. We got to put the oil pan and the timing cover on it, and then the bottom end is ready to go. I just picked up the valves for the heads yesterday, so I'm going to do a video of putting the heads back together. That'll probably be the following week, and then after that we should be good to roll. We'll slap the heads back on the motor, get everything buttoned up and back in the car. And then we just got to figure out something for our radiator, how we're going to do that. I haven't decided on whether I'm going to do a rear mount setup now or if I want to go with like a small radiator up front. So anyway, we got to figure that part out. But that's kind of the last little bit. We're getting into the short list for the car, so pretty excited. We're going to keep rolling on it. Stay tuned, guys. And if you haven't already done so, take a second to hit the subscribe button. Every subscriber counts and it really helps the channel. So anyway, we're gonna dive right in, guys. Let's get to it. Alright guys, so one thing we're gonna check for anytime we pull one of these oil pumps apart, they got this little valve in here. It's a pressure relief valve. We got to make sure that it opens. We just stick something down in there, and I mean it's free, it's not stuck or anything, so that's good. We're actually going to end up taking that out and swapping. There's a spring behind it that we got to swap out, so I guess we'll go ahead and do that part. This little pin in here, it's got to come out. You got to drive it out from this side, so we got to get something, a little punch to get that out with. Alright, so we got the pin out. Pull that. You got your spring. So we're going to be replacing the stock spring with this one. So we're not trying to remove a whole lot of material here, we're just trying to knock the edges off. We're basically removing any kind of burrs or anything that may be prohibiting some flow. That's one way to do it. Probably not the best way. Alright, that's our drive shaft out. I'm going to go put that back. Alright, so then what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to come around all these little edges and make sure that they got like a little chamfer to them. Just basically knocking any kind of burrs or anything off, making it a good clean surface to mate with. Again, we're not really trying to remove any material, or at least not a whole lot. We're just trying to ease the edge a little bit. Just trying to break the edge. And then on these little verticals, we're going to do the same thing. Just going to touch them with the file pretty lightly.
Make sure that they don't have any burrs. Same thing when we go down in this hole here, and we're going to knock off the edge of that, make sure we don't have any burrs in that hole, and then all around these little, I don't know if you can see it there, but all around these little edges, we're just going to, like I said, make sure we don't have any kind of burrs, make sure they're nice and smooth. Alright, now on our gears, we're kind of do the same thing, but just knock off the edges all the way around on everything. Like I said, we're just trying to knock the edge down, get rid of any kind of little hard edges or burrs or whatever may be on there. Again, not looking for a bunch of material here, just looking to knock it down. Make sure everything is smooth. That's all the burrs off of that one. Same thing on this one. Alright, that's all of those with the file. Now everything we just did with the file, got to go back and hit with like a emery paper just to make sure everything, probably about a 320 grit, make sure everything's good and smooth, and then we'll get back on it again. New spring in, check valve cleaned up. Working like it ought to. Just a little bit of oil in the hole. Keep everything nice and lubed up. So I don't have any flash rust going on. Will be it for that piece of the oil pump. Set that to the side. Alright, now this we're going to take and drill some 16th inch holes into the idler gear. One in the center, the very center. Skip 2 teeth, one up towards the top. Skip 2 more teeth, one towards the bottom. It's going to make sure we get good solid oil on that idler shaft to keep that from, you know, happy and lasting a long time. We get a 16th bit out and we'll get started on it. Alright, so we got our first our first hole there in the middle. Rotate it 2 teeth, so we skip 1 slot, go to the next. Put it up. the top. Alright, there's the one towards the top. Skip another slot. Go to the next. Come down towards the bottom. Alright, so we got our one at the top, one in the middle, one at the bottom. Spray that off. We're going to deburr the inside also. Make sure we deburr down in the hole. Make sure we don't have anything sitting down inside of there. So I'm going to spray it out with the brake clean first, and we'll do that. Alright guys, so we got this little base adapter piece to make the depth gauge out of this. So we're just going to take and put that on. Basically we got the gears down inside, so we're going to go across the top of that, and we're going to check how many thousandths we have. Alright, so guys, what we're going to try to do here, bring you in closer. Alright, what we're trying to do is these gears should be between like 1,000th and 3,000ths down from the face of this. So we have our gauge, set that on top, kind of across the gear, measure down, and right there, that's showing 1,000, and that's a half a thousand. Call it 1.5. So we got a half a thousandths up on this edge, only a half. We need to be between 1 and 3. And right here on this, we basically have nothing. So we need to go, that's 1,000, 1.5. Almost nothing on that one. 1.5, 1.5. Alright, so some areas we are okay, some of them we are a little tight. So I think, yeah, that's 0. Alright, so we're going to take a little bit off of both gears, because we're a little tight right now. So I want to loosen it up just a hair. I'll show you guys how we do that. So first thing we're going to do is take the gear out. Alright, so now we have our gears out. Alright, so we got our gears out. We need to make a little bit more clearance between this and the plate that goes on top. So all we got to do, if it was our casing, if we needed it to be tighter, we would take gear housing and we would actually take that and sand it one direction, spin it 180 degrees, sand it again, 180 degrees again, until we got it down within spec. Since we're tight, we need to actually make these a little bit shorter. So we're going to do the same thing here. Just going to take it, set it on your paper, and we're going to just push. And we're going to spin it, push. We're not really putting a lot of pressure or anything here. We're just letting the gear come across the face. Alright, and so that's kind of what we end up with. Hopefully, let's see, alright, so that's what we end up with there after we've taken a little bit off of that one.
the same thing on this guy. Start here, push, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Same deal again. Same deal again. That's what we have. Okay, we got to knock the debris off. Clean it up a little bit with some brake clean. He's clean, we'll drop them back in the hole over here, keep them clean. Same deal with this. Little brake clean. Back in the hole. And we can check our clearances again. So that's the process we'll use to get it back in spec. Like as you can see, those are now back down in there. We're just going to repeat it as we need to get it in spec. We should be pretty close now because we were only off about maybe a half a thousandth, 1,000th at the most. So this should get us pretty good, but let's check it out and see what we got. Zeroed out. That's still only a half to 1,000. In the middle here we got 1.5. Alright, so that's 2,000ths, 1.5, 2,000ths, pretty close in there. 1,000th, 2,000ths, 1,000. Let's go across this way. 2,000ths. Okay, so we're pretty much in spec now, right around 1.5, 2,000. So that's where we're going to leave it at. Pretty happy with that. Like I said, again, if it was the opposite way and we needed to tighten it up, we would just take the gears out and flip the housing here upside down, and then we'd run that across our sandpaper to bring the housing down. But right now we're right in spec where we need to be, so we're going to call that good, guys. We're going to get everything cleaned up real good one more time. Once we get it all cleaned up, we're going to take and put it back in the motor. We'll go ahead and pre-lube everything. I'm probably going to use some of this like some assembly lube. Show you the one I normally like to use. I prefer this kind over the other, but you know, I'm sure they both work fine. But the Ultra Slick from Permatex has always done good by me, so we're going to go back with that. Like I said, I'll probably put a little bit of that down in the pump itself, just to know I got some kind of lubrication on everything until we get the motor up and running, the oil pumping through it. Yeah, once we get that on, go ahead and slap the oil pan back on it. And actually, I think before I do that, I think I'm going to go ahead and weld the pickup tube to the oil pump. I almost forgot about that. So we'll go ahead and knock that part out. I'll weld the pickup tube on, and then once that's done, we'll put it all back together, get the timing cover back on it, and we'll bring you guys along. Here we go. Alright, so we got our preheat done. Alright guys, so that's it. We got the weld done. I'm going to try to give it a little bit of post heat just to make sure everything is cool and slow enough to not have any issues. But pretty happy with the way it's turning out. Alright,
so now we've done a little post heating to it. Just gonna kind of cover it with these gloves to keep it away from the breeze for a minute. Let it cool down slowly is the idea. All right, so we got the pickup tube welded on. Now we're just running through, making sure that this is still flat. You see it's starting to pull it in, flatten everything out. Still getting closer. A little better even. Starting to get most of the scratches out of it. Alright, so we're really close now. If I take just a hair more off of it, get it all the way back nice, but you can see it's taking all those little swirls and scratches and stuff out of it. Really close now. Just a little bit right in there that you can see. Hopefully you can see that. Alright guys, so there you can see it. Got all the swirl marks and the old marks from the gear out. Everything's looking really good, really flat. I'm going to take now, clean everything up one last time for the oil pump, reassemble that and put it back in the motor. That part will be done. Then it's just oil pan, timing cover gasket, and we're done for this one. So all that's looking good. Rub the finger around that. Pickup two will go there. All right, a little bit of red Loctite. We're gonna throw on these oil pump bolts. Throw the new collar on there. Alright, so we got our new locating collar thing on here. Put this back down on the dowels. A little bit more of the red Loctite on this bolt.